So, if you can again just mingle your mind with space, notice space, and then notice mind within space. Bring everything into the presence. So, over thousands of years, this technique, although never really going mainstream, has been known as the ultimate remedy. This technique of letting be, letting our experience be. How do you let your whole body, your whole sense of self, everything, how do you let it be? By coming into the space like part of your mind, psych space, it's everywhere. And then we can let the whole environment, even all of it, we just let it be. So, with panic attacks and anxiety, I've cited those numbers like Herbert Berry, it's a great example. 95% success rate, panic attacks, solving them completely by letting them be for about 10 minutes. If you struggle with it, think about it, give it life, then it'll last much longer. Then in psychology, they have normal grief and trauma. Then they have complicated mourning, complicated grief and trauma, which means that we're attaching a lot of thoughts to it. But if we can manage to let our trauma, our grief, if we can let it be without feeding it, again, it's a remedy. Being here with our own energy, leaving it ineffable. Don't need to analyze or define it or say, tell it what's. And then the openness of the mind is there. And the pure presence, not the present moment, presence, a little bit different, known as the fourth time. So now we're hearing all this amazing science behind the awareness practice. Well, not all this science, but we're starting to hear some. And I've heard this before about gamma, uh, gamma waves and holistic functioning of the hemispheres of the brain, but also the whole nervous system as a holistic activation. They're saying that it actually, when we rest in awareness, our whole brain starts to operate rather than parts of it. That our whole body, our whole nervous system, there's a cohesion there. So that's my introduction, I suppose, to Longchenpa today, because this text is all about letting it be, resting in awareness without effort, without trying to achieve anything. Stop, release that thing that we're doing, that thing that we want to do later. Release it. Trust presence. All right, let's get into the text here. Om Mara Bhaja Nadi. We used to always do Manjushri when I was a monk, Manjushri mantras before the all the text, and we'd say Om Mara Bhaja Nadi. It's a very nice, and that's an ancient. That mantra is found in the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras, the Emptiness Sutras. So um, that Arabhajanati. Fun fact, fun Dharma fact of the day. Okay. So remember, when we're resting in this awareness, it permeates the world of all sounds, all appearances, tastes, smells, and feelings, emotions, and thoughts. It permeates everything just like space. So it says, this is fulfilled within awakened mind, the nature of phenomena. All phenomenon, however they manifest, are sacred in being unborn by their very nature, and so are spontaneously present, unceasing, and not abiding in any specific way. Since there is total purity, free of any framework of existence or non existence, the nature of phenomenon is expansive openness, great perfection, awareness, the ultimate heart essence of enlightenment. There is no holding to extreme views, but rather freedom from bias based on characteristics. There is no conclusion to be reached through theories of language or knowledge. It is beyond characterization, can be neither affirmed nor denied, neither increases nor decreases, and neither comes nor goes. Yeah, I remember a lot of when we speak about it and use terms like awareness and emptiness, these are just linguistic almost like a person. It says your name, but that's all. That doesn't represent what's behind that little name tag. So, given total purity in the supreme spaciousness, spontaneous evenness, there's uninterrupted openness, free of all extreme or bias. In enlightened intent, there is no occurrence of or involvement with hope or fear, and so there is uninterrupted openness, regardless of what arises. An undirected state, what simply is. There's never a chance of being caught within a cage of reification. Remember, reification is what turns labels, what turns simple words and thoughts into something. You know, a thought plus clinging equals reification. And that's essentially what we begin to do in an illusory kind of environment. We reify, most likely for the sake of physicality, survival of the desires. So, since all things come back to openness, their nature is beyond the extreme of denial or affirmation. Just as the universe will disappear within the realm of space, denial and affirmation, attachment and aversion vanish in original basic space. Thought patterns and uninterrupted awareness, the limitations of holding to hope and fear are transcended. The tethering stake of dualistic mind is pulled free. The confusing perceptions of samsara is empty. Therefore, the dynamic energy of display is external, phenomenon that manifests as objects, and internal, the manner in which one's mind arises. So that a co-emergence. So the thoughts you're having about reality and the appearances of reality are one as they co-emerge. And this could be on a lucid level. I think there's a cognition that's beating our hearts. It's a thought. It's intelligence, but it's different than what we typically associate with thoughts. But it is still an act of intelligence. So you have this co-emergence happening like that within the lucid aspect of mind. So for those who understand everything to be timelessly empty and open, all phenomenon are revealed within the key point of openness. The phenomenon, an implication that can be discerned is that they constitute self-knowing timeless awareness as openness, empty yet lucid. Self-knowing timeless awareness, very nice. Because we can recognize it, and then we can also rest our own recognizing within it. So it's self-knowing. And could you scroll back up just a second there? We can keep Mhm. Oh, what I was reminded of is that a lot of these Dzogchen instructions that if you want to familiarize with openness, if that's one of your challenges, because remember, there's four samayas here, ineffability. So if we're having a lot of thoughts, a lot of concepts and ideas and beliefs about Dzogchen, it's best to remember ineffability. Let it go, because Dzogchen isn't about that. Then, if you're feeling closed in various ways, remember openness. And then the third one is pure presence, that'll be next. And then oneness, which will be the last one. So, right now we're on openness. Well, if you go outside and take a walk, it's a great way to begin to let your mind be open again, even if it's through a park or anything like that. Okay. And notice throughout the day, if you go to stores or even if you're reading and even if you're studying biology, well, there can be a vast openness there as you're studying. And I'm willing to bet that it'll make your studies maybe a little bit magical. You'll start to see the mind is pretty powerful when we let it be. So, not constrained by being perceived as a subject beyond being perceived as an object, without any point of reference. Wide open clarity is unrestricted. Yeah, so that's that if you still feel a point of reference, like a sense of me here, the witness, the watcher, many terms used for that. Well, keep resting that in awareness, even when you take a walk or driving, riding a bike, eating. Who's the one eating? Who's the one studying? Who's the one riding the bus or driving? Who's the one talking or listening? There's always that seventh Manasvichnan, if you're using the eight consciousness model, that egoic self, that conditioned self, it will always be apparent to you. And then sometimes it will be gone. You'll be in a pure presence where it's undefinable. And it won't even be you being in the pure presence. It'll be the lack of conditioning. And it's possible. This is one of the things I had skepticism about. How can there be no subject and object? You have a body, right? First thing I said. But it doesn't work like that. It's not linear like that. Even your body is non-referential when you start to release. So your body is elements. Your body is mostly empty space, actually. And in that sense, you can totally see how it's non-referential. All right, but I like this wide open clarity is unrestricted. If we can continue to familiarize with that part of our mind right there, that's our new vantage point. And there's a lot more freedom in that, just being in that part of our mind. So enlightened intent, or enlightened beingness, undistracted, for all recollection has been exhausted, is expansive openness like space, neither meditation nor non-meditation. Nirvana means to extinguish or exhaust. So it's not just recollection, which is another word for all your patterns and your habits. It's also the recollection of selfing. That conditioned self is exhausted. So when you recognize awareness and you're comfortable with it, you enter into a state of nirvana. To me, that's the real stream entry. You enter this, and there's self-liberation taking place. So this is the vast expanse of enlightened intent, wholly positive, in spacious and vast expanse of awareness, empty yet lucid. Although an unceasing variety of characteristics arises, the sense faculties perceive this in all its freshness. Awareness is clearly evident as the nature of phenomenon. Oh, you see, everybody? One line. Awareness is the nature of all phenomenon. So if you're ever wondering, this whole world, as you look around, your own mind, your own awareness, and you can start to see, is my awareness really in all phenomenon? Or remember, for some reason, our mind makes this, even according to scientists. Uh, Many scientists are saying, physicists are saying this. Our mind is making this reality fixed. So, yeah, it's really, really possible that this is all mind, like the Dhammapada and everybody's been saying. So things appear freely. Consciousness is blissful, however it arises, and the six modes of consciousness are relaxed. Instead of your six consciousness means the five that you're used to hearing probably. Now they have 23 to 33, but I think they can all be summarized under the main five, which is these seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, and touching. But then the sixth would be thoughts. So even a thought of being, so very subtle, maybe abstract or relatively invisible thoughts. And then you have very obvious thoughts, these quick little flashes. And so that's the six consciousnesses, and all of those are relaxed because you're resting in awareness, which permeates all of that. And then who's the one resting? That's the seventh consciousness. And then awareness also permeates the eighth, where all the seeds and that karmic momentum is. So, since this is utterly lucid, unobstructed, without division into outer or inner, it is spontaneously present within the supreme, uncontrived state of resting and genuine being. Body and mind rest in whatever way is comfortable, without tension or looseness. Empty yet lucid, there is uninterrupted and expansive openness, purification, transcending all thought and recollection. Everything is complete openness, encompassed within a single expanse of enlightened intent. This mind blends with the blissful ground of being, the realm of awakened mind, in which outer and inner are of one taste. This is the perceived way of abiding, the nature in which phenomena are resolved. At the very moment that ideas form about sense impressions, natural mind remains open, with perception blissful and spacious. Okay, I think we can stop there. Thank you, Yeshi, for facilitating and for the group for your presence today and listening to this wonderful text, exploration of our mind. Longchenpa talking about our mind. It's always very nice and poetic. This is really there's a lot to unpack with each line. I kind of went through them quickly, but thankfully over the past week we've been talking about these psychic boundaries, various thought habituations, thought patterns that create boundaries and walls. We've been totally exploring that topic. So I hope you can begin to discern when you're feeling closed and tight and when your mind is clear and open. It should be something that we begin to notice the difference. Okay, so thank you so much, everybody.